Welcome to the new video of NeuroPhilos. Get ready to dive into a gripping tale that will leave you breathless, thinking, and inspired. Whether you're here for the mystery, the drama, or the unexpected twists, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe so you never miss another powerful story. Let's begin. Why toxic people target you. Have you ever wondered why certain people seem to live surrounded by endless drama? As if they carry a hidden magnet that draws emotional manipulators, narcissists, and toxic personalities toward them. Meanwhile, others move through the same streets, work in the same offices, sit in the same cafes, yet remain strangely invisible to these predators. If you have asked yourself, why me? Why do these people always seem to find me? Are already standing on the threshold of a truth that can change everything. It's not simply bad luck, nor is it fate punishing you or some cosmic accident. The Swiss psychologist Carl Jung, founder of analytical psychology, discovered that human interactions run on invisible patterns, deep psychological mechanisms that most of us are unaware of. These patterns decide who becomes a target and who passes unnoticed. And contrary to what many believe, it's not about being stronger, louder, or tougher. It's about something much quieter, but far more powerful. Toxic people are like emotional predators. Just as a wolf senses the weakness of a limping animal, these individuals intuitively detect unresolved wounds within you. They are experts at sniffing out insecurities, fears, and unspoken needs. You may hide these vulnerabilities from the world, even from yourself, but predators always notice. This is why you may find yourself drained after encounters, exhausted from trying to explain yourself, or stuck in cycles of manipulation you swore you'd never repeat. Perhaps you are someone who avoids conflict at all costs, who tries to keep the peace even when it costs you your own happiness. Maybe you give too much of yourself, believing that kindness will protect you, only to discover it often paints a target on your back. Over time, you start to believe the problem lies within you, that you are broken, too weak, or too soft. But here lies the key. The problem isn't that you are weak, it's that you haven't yet integrated your hidden strength. Jung called this hidden strength. The shadow, the parts of your personality you repress or deny, often because society or family told you they were unacceptable. Anger, selfishness, pride, desire. These aspects don't vanish when you bury them. Instead, they become unconscious wounds, cracks in your armor that others exploit. The more you deny your shadow, the more visible you become to toxic people. The secret is not to fight harder, argue louder, or build walls around yourself. Those strategies exhaust you. The true secret lies in integrating your shadow, learning to face what you fear in yourself, and transforming it into wholeness. When you do this, toxic people lose interest. It's as if you become invisible too. Then, not because you're hiding, but because there are no more open wounds for them to exploit. This journey begins with awareness. Stay with me, because once you learn to integrate your shadow, you'll discover that the power to repel toxicity has always lived inside you. Projection, seeing yourself in others. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." Okay. At first glance, this may sound like philosophy, but when you truly reflect on it, you realize it is one of the most powerful psychological truths you will ever encounter. Because much of the pain we experience with toxic people is not just about what they do to us. It is also about what they awaken within us. Think of someone who fills you with rage. Maybe it is their selfishness, arrogance, or manipulative charm. Now ask yourself, why does it affect me so much? Why does my whole body react? My stomach tighten? My thoughts spiral? The answer lies in what Jung called projection. Projection happens when we take the parts of ourselves that we dislike, fear, or denied, we paste them onto someone else. Perhaps you were raised to believe that anger is dangerous, so you repressed it, telling yourself you must always be calm, agreeable, and gentle, but the anger doesn't disappear. It sinks into your unconscious. Now, when you meet someone who openly displays anger or dominance, your shadow surges forward, and you feel hatred or disgust. What you hate in them is also what you have hidden in yourself. This does not mean you are toxic. It means you carry unacknowledged energy. You long for the freedom to set boundaries, to say no, to express power without shame. Yet because this side of you was rejected long ago, you can only recognize it when you see it in another. That recognition comes in the form of an intense emotional reaction, and here lies the hidden danger. Projection acts like a signal. It leaks energy into the world, silently announcing, "This part of me is unhealed. Here lies an opening." Toxic people are instinctively drawn to those signals. They sense your unspoken guilt, your buried anger, your suppressed desire to be seen. Without realizing it, you make yourself visible to predators who know exactly how to exploit what you deny. This explains why patterns repeat. You escape one manipulative boss only to find another. You end one toxic relationship only to begin a similar one. Geography changes, faces change, but the energy remains. Until you reclaim your projections, the cycle continues. Recognizing this truth is not about blaming yourself. It is about reclaiming your power. When you look at someone who provokes you and ask, "What is this person reflecting in me?" begin to pull that projection back. You stop scattering fragments of yourself across the world and start becoming whole again. The toxic person loses their grip because the very hook they used to exploit you no longer exists. This is the beginning of psychic integrity, the state where your energy is no longer leaking, where predators lose interest, and where you finally step into your own strength. The trap of drama, recognizing your projections, is only the beginning. Even after you become aware of your shadow, there is another trap that keeps people bound to toxic relationships: the endless cycle of drama. Toxic people are not nourished by truth, fairness, or reason. What they crave is energy. And the easiest way to harvest that energy is by dragging you into emotional chaos. Think about how these dynamics usually unfold. A toxic person drops a small beta sarcastic remark, a subtle criticism, a loaded silence. It may seem minor, almost insignificant, but it hooks your attention. Suddenly, you feel the need to defend yourself, to prove them wrong, to explain what they already know. You react, you argue, you raise your voice, and in that instant, they have exactly what they wanted: your emotional energy. This is why toxic people often appear calm while you unravel. Fear. They know that the real victory lies not in facts, but in reactions. Once you explode, cry, or desperately try to convince them, the narrative shifts. Now you are too sensitive, irrational, or the problem. You leave the encounter drained, confused, ashamed, while they walk away untouched. Sometimes, even playing the victim, Jung captured this cycle in a single phrase: what you resist persists. The more you fight to prove yourself, the more power you give to the game. Toxic people don't care about the truth. They care about control. And every outburst, every desperate explanation is proof to them that they still hold control over you. So what is the antidote? Neutrality. Not weakness. Not passivity. True neutrality is a conscious choice, a stance of inner strength. It means refusing to provide the emotional fuel predators need to survive. When they provoke you, you do not react. When they twist your words, you do not defend. When they sulk or withhold affection, you do not chase after their approval. You remain steady, calm, and unshaken. This is not easy. It requires discipline and self-awareness. Old wounds will ache to be acknowledged. You may feel the urge to explode, to justify, to prove them wrong. But every time you resist the bait and remain centered, you weaken their grip. Over time, they lose interest. Why? Because without your energy, the game collapses. Imagine a balloon filled with air. Every reaction you give is more air blown inside, keeping it afloat. But when you stop feeding it, when you withhold your reactions, balloon deflates. The toxic person finds nothing to hold on to, no chaos to consume, and they drift away in search of another target. Neutrality is not about silence born from fear. It is about silence born from mastery. It is not swallowing words because you are powerless. It is choosing stillness because you are powerful enough not to engage. And in this stillness, you reclaim your life force. Building internal boundaries. When most people hear the word boundaries, they immediately think of saying no to others, cutting contact, or walking away from toxic environments. These external steps are important, but they are not the foundation. The truth, often ignored, is that boundaries begin within. Without strong internal boundaries, every external defense eventually collapses. Why? Because toxic people don't just invade your time or physical space, they invade your mind. And they do so through the hidden doors of your unresolved needs. Maybe you crave acceptance, so you over-explain yourself. Maybe you fear rejection, so you keep forgiving behavior that hurts you. Maybe you long to be seen as good, polite, or kind, so you bend until you break. Each of these needs is an open door, and predators are experts at finding them. Carl Jung warned that the parts of ourselves we refuse to integrate govern us unconsciously. One of the most powerful shadows we carry is the desperate need to be loved by everyone. On the surface, it looks noble, wanting peace, wanting harmony, wanting to be liked, but beneath it lies fear. Fear of loneliness, fear of abandonment, fear of being seen as selfish or unworthy. Toxic people can smell this fear the way sharks smell blood in the water. They know that with a cold glance, a withdrawn silence, or a subtle tone of disapproval, they can hook you back into their control. Internal boundaries mean deciding at the deepest level that you will no longer let those fears govern you. They mean understanding that your worth does not depend on another person's approval. They mean knowing who you are, what you want, and most importantly, what you will never again tolerate. When this clarity becomes part of your very being, something extraordinary happens. Your energy shifts. People sense your solidity, and toxic individuals lose interest because there are no longer cracks to exploit. Think of it this way: without internal boundaries, you are like soft clay. Anyone can press their fingers into you and leave marks. But with internal boundaries, you become like polished, stone-smooth, solid, untouchable. The predator tries to grip, but there is nothing to hold. Of course, developing internal boundaries is not easy. It requires courage. It means facing the small, frightened parts of yourself that still crave validation. It means confronting the fear of being judged, rejected, or abandoned. It means being willing to lose relationships, opportunities, or approval in order to remain true to yourself. That kind of courage transforms you. And when you choose yourself even in small ways, even when it hurts you, reinforce those internal walls. Each choice strengthens the structure. Over time, you live with greater lightness. You no longer fear losing others because you know you cannot lose yourself. And that, more than any spoken no, is the ultimate protection. Embracing your darkness, we have spoken about projections, drama, and the importance of internal boundaries. But beneath all of these lies the deepest and most transformative step of all: accepting your own darkness. This is the territory most people avoid, yet it is the very place where freedom is found. Carl Jung said, "To know your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. Until you face your own shadow, you remain vulnerable to those who exploit it." Let's be honest, we all carry impulses we would rather hide. Envy, resentment, pride, anger, the urge to manipulate or control, these exist in every human being. Most of us bury them because we were taught as children that such feelings are ugly or dangerous. We learn to put on masks: the good person, the kind one, the agreeable one. But burying your darkness does not make it disappear. It remains alive, pulsing beneath the surface, waiting to be triggered. And toxic people are masters at sensing what you try hardest to conceal. If you desperately cling to being seen as perfect, they will attack your flaws until you break. If you deny your anger, they will provoke you until you explode. If you fear rejection, they will withhold affection until you chase them. In every case, your refusal to face your darkness becomes the very weapon used against you. Integration changes everything. To integrate your shadow is not to indulge, it is to acknowledge it. It is saying, yes, I am capable of cruelty, but I choose compassion. Yes, I feel envy, but I will not let it corrode me. I have dark thoughts, but they do not define who I am. When you admit these truths to yourself, the fear of them vanishes. And when the fear is gone, toxic people lose their grip because they thrive only on your shame and denial. The paradox is powerful. The more you accept your capacity for darkness, the more authentically light you become. Compassion becomes real because it is chosen, not performed. Kindness becomes strong because it no longer hides fear. Boundaries become natural because you no longer need to prove you are good. You are whole, and wholeness cannot be manipulated. This is the ultimate liberation Jung spoke of. When you integrate your shadow, you stop living as prey. Toxic people see no cracks to enter, no shame to exploit, no weakness to manipulate. They walk away, not because you hide, but because you have nothing left to hide. And in that moment, you discover something extraordinary, the power to live freely, authentically, and without fear. To embrace your darkness is to reclaim your life. It is to know yourself so deeply that no predator can ever use your hidden parts against you. It is to finally stand as whole. And wholeness, unlike perfection, is untouchable.